Hi textile buddies, I'm Daria, a textile and surface pattern designer and artist, both traditional and digital. On this channel we talk all things textile, carload, pattern and artwork. Patterns are everywhere. Today I think we have a very cool topic that was suggested by a subscriber here on YouTube. So here's the comment. I would love to learn some cocktail lines or how to respond to people when they ask, so where do you work? I think it's a great question because I have struggled with answering this question and sometimes still do. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, and I even dare you to hit that like button right away because it really helps the channel, trains the algorithm and brings in more pattern buddies. The more the merrier, right? The thing is, what we do is quite an exotic job, and in 99% of cases people have no clue when you say I'm a textile designer. I was once a guest at a podcast that was hosted by my childhood friend and another friend of hers. It was in Russian, and so they invited me and they were so excited about patterns and they were asking me these questions like, what is pattern design? And that, I think, was the first time when I realized that people might not know what it is. You know, when we do something for a long time and do something professionally, we sometimes get this feeling like everybody knows what it is. I had this feeling like everybody does patterns now, right? Artists, graphic designers, fashion designers, illustrators, everybody does repeating patterns now. But the thing is, most people have no idea what you're talking about. You can also get asked at your doctor's, what do you do? You might fill out some forms and they see that you're a textile designer or an artist. Or you might go to a networking event and you also have to have a couple phrases to say, or at a family gathering. So I will share my test versions and some scenarios and some phrases. I hope it will be helpful for you. First, I think we need an elevator speech for professional events. I had to come up with one for my YouTube channel. The introduction I'm saying in every video, I had to write it down. I had to, take out some words, put in the most important words. And I had to learn and practice it. It is not easy at first to speak freely and to say what exactly you do so people understand right away. But here on this channel, at least I assume people kind of know what I'm talking about. So I just boiled it down to these two things, that I'm a textile designer and watercolor artist. So I would say decide what is the bare minimum of what you do. Don't give people like, I do oil painting and weaving and marble dye and all that stuff. It's too much information. Just, pick your most important aspects. I also have to introduce myself at plein air outings with local artists and painting workshops that I go to once a year. And in that case, I usually say I'm a watercolor painter and textile designer. I paint and then turn my paintings into designs for fabric and wallpaper. Usually it does the job, people are like, oh, okay, I get it. If they want more details, they will ask you questions. And like I said, determine what is the bare minimum of what you will be saying, because I do a lot of things as well, but I don't mention them not to make things even more complicated for people. Sometimes I'll throw in that I'm a commercial artist, which means that I paint for retail product design. Because sometimes when you say you're an artist, people envision you, covered in oil paint with an easel. And maybe I do that from time to time, but that's not my main job. The second scenario is for people who have no clue what you're talking about. You can also say in this case, I paint elements and turn them into designs for fabric, wallpaper, wrapping paper, and maybe a couple other categories. Then 9.5 out of 10 cases people are not interested in details. Especially I noticed that about people like lawyers, doctors, non-creative professionals. To be honest, they often kind of look down on art and they don't really want to talk much about it. They don't take art very seriously. So I can say you can just stop there. Sometimes they like to ask, where exactly do you work? Or do you work for a company? And just to make it a little easier for them, I'll say that I used to work for this and that large company. And that rings a bell to them. For them, they understand, like, oh, okay, I get it, I understand. But I say, now I am an independent designer, or you can say a freelance designer, freelance artist. Freelancer is another familiar word for people, and they will have a general idea of what you do. Sometimes I explain that I upload a design file to print-on-demand companies. Make sure to speak slowly here because it's a lot of new information for non-artists. So I explain that a print-on-demand company is a company that produces a product once a customer orders it, and I upload my files there. I often start by asking, I start slowly and say, do you know what a print-on-demand company is? Sometimes it intimidates people when you ask this direct question because 9 out of 10 people are afraid to say, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. But that's okay. I'm not trying to attack them. Some people do have a certain understanding of the online art world. So the next question is, do you have an Etsy shop? And that's a good direction to go in because, if they know what an Etsy shop is, you can talk more about it, and they will usually say, oh, my sister does that, or my neighbor does that, or the neighbor's daughter does that. But for me personally, it's a little bit of a triggering question because I don't have an Etsy shop, and I'm like, damn, I need to open that Etsy shop. But I have my own online shop, and that's what I say. I have a shop just like Etsy, but better, which is patterntalent.com, and this is my personal web shop. And don't be afraid to sell even a little bit, not like salesy, but you can say, I have an online shop where I sell square silk scarves, kitchen towels, watercolor art prints, decorative pillows, and you can even give a card to a person if it's appropriate, of course. It's okay to talk about it, and I think being an artist, you need to get used to talking about it because who else is going to share information? And one of my former managers, when I worked at front desk, they always told me, don't be afraid to sell, but don't think of it as selling. Think of it as sharing information. You're not forcing anybody to buy from you. You can't force people to buy from you, but what you can do is share some information, and you're doing them a favor because you are telling them about something great. And they might actually need this, they might need a silk scarf. I'll give you some examples of conversations that I have about my job. And recently I read a joke somewhere that after 30 you start making friends with your specialists, and that is so true. So my chiropractor is a very nice guy, but he has no clue what I'm doing. I tried to explain it to him, but I can tell he's not interested, but he's being very sweet. Every time I come, not every time, sometimes actually, he asks, how's business? And I say, good, it's going, busy, But my massage therapist, on the other hand, is a very sweet older lady. And, maybe she didn't understand the entirety of what I do, but she grasped the idea of a Shopify store. My patterntalent.com is a Shopify shop. And every time she asks me, how's Shopify? So sometimes people might hear of Etsy or Shopify, or there will be little connecting points that you can talk about. I'd say look for something in common, something they know of. I've had a conversation with a quilter once, and to my great surprise, she had no idea what Spoonflower is. And that's another reminder that people don't know all that we know. If I spend my days uploading on Spoonflower, it doesn't mean that people around me know what it is, even quilters. So I explained the idea to her, gave her a link, but referring them to Spoonflower is a little tricky because they can discover other fabrics in there. But that's okay, I understand that there is competition and people can buy from other artists, and it's also small businesses, so that's great. You can also get asked sometimes, how exactly do you turn paintings into textile designs? That's when things get a little bit more interesting because people are genuinely curious about your job. Then I say I paint them, scan them, and then use Photoshop and other programs to turn them into designs for fabric. For example, I have photo shoots sometimes. I do some commercial modeling as a hobby and also as a very small supplementary income. So I talk with photographers and I have to explain what I do for my main job. And photographers know what Photoshop and Adobe Suite is, so we can talk about Photoshop. Always look for connecting points. If people are willing, and if you are willing to have a longer conversation, you can take those little hooks and elaborate more on them. I have a couple friends. I met both of them at my former in-house job. It was a giant corporation. There were 3 giant buildings. So you would meet people sometimes and they talk to you. So we both connected over the culture. You know, one of the ladies speaks Russian. So she is from IT. The other girl is from finance. She's from Poland. So we also kind of connected. She saw embroidery on my blouse and we spoke about that. So they both, being such technical specialists, they were thrilled about my job and they were like, whoa, this is so cool, I want to know more. So the IT girl took me to a party once. It was her daughter's birthday party and she introduced me to her friends. So everybody spoke Russian there. And she was saying that to this girl, like, oh, Daria has such a cool job. She does prints for clothing and for fabrics. It's so amazing. And then my friend had to be somewhere else and she ran away. And I was left with that lady and I was preparing my speech about her floral print because she was wearing like a gigantic floral print dress. But she just did a 180 and turned her back on me, like abruptly, immediately. I was shocked. I was like, that was a reminder that not everybody is interested in creative jobs, and that's okay. You know, that was not my problem. That was not a problem of textile design. The lady was just plain rude and uncultured. I forgot to mention that when you speak to a person and they, you know, you talk about pattern design, I usually point, for example, I say, I make patterns for clothing just like your shirt, or I point at a curtain or any pattern inside, you know, something that is like a little more than a polka dot, you know, something more intricate. But you can talk also about polka dots and say patterns can be as simple as just stripes. They are also patterns. My other friend, the one in finance, still works there and she is a huge supporter. She always talks to her friends about me. She shares my enthusiasm, and these people are a blessing because, you know, they have cross this bridge and now they understand what you do and they are so enchanted and they basically translate it to other non-creatives. I'm so grateful to have her, you know, she's a huge support. I think that's all for today. I hope I have shared some little pieces of knowledge. I hope it was useful. If so, please consider liking this video, subscribe if you haven't done so. Follow me on Instagram, pattern_talent. Visit my Spoonflower shop, visit my online shop, and leave a comment. Share this video with your friends who are interested in art and design. And of course, remember that patterns are everywhere and we can talk about them to our friends. Bye.